Hey everybody, Cody Menz here. This is a video reviewing the new Czechoslovakian Tier 8 Premium Tank Destroyer, the ShPTK-TVP 100. I'm just going to refer to it as the TVP 100, and as you probably can tell from the title of this video, the, I guess, too long don't watch version is this thing's absolutely broken. It's amazing. Basically, it's 2022's, I guess thus far, Cody T56 and Bat Chapter-esque levels of this thing is basically a tier above tier 8, but it's classified as a tier 8 somehow, and it's amazing to play, and it's utterly broken when it comes to balance. There's going to be a video up top. It's technically an ace tanker. Didn't feel like an ace tanker battle to me, but shows you a little bit about this tank, to where even though it's a TD and it has a turret, the thing plays like you're playing basically like a TVP T50, you know, Czechoslovakian medium, running around with really good on the move accuracy, really good penetration, DPM, you know, on the move accuracy is terrific, like I said, and basically mobility is actually pretty darn good, especially because most people are probably going to throw a turbo on this since you don't have access to a V stabilizer, but you don't need one. I'm going to go over some stats while, you know, kind of that's playing, and try to keep this as short as possible because, you know, really the only thing you need to know about this video is this tank is freaking awesome. It's really bad for balance for the game. Broken, I don't know, because it is pretty lightly armored and, you know, you can die pretty quick in it. However, this thing will literally mow down tier 6s, tier 7s in about 4.5 seconds, if not 8 or 9 seconds when it reloads again. And basically, you know, you have 270 millimeters of pen for your standard round, and you're going to mow down tier 8s, 9s, 10s, you know, because why not? Anyway, this tank, so 250 damage, 270 millimeters of pen on the base round, 330 on the premium round, which is heat, which is pretty expensive to shoot, but credits don't matter within battles, so I don't know why that's important. And then you have this crazy thing for a 250 damage gun that reloads in about 4.5 seconds, a 420 damage HE round that has 100 millimeters of penetration, literally giving you the highest damage per minute of any, you know, basically high tier tank in the game, more than a Tortoise, more than a Badger, and it's just utterly insane having almost 6,000 damage per minute for builds that people are going to use with, you know, bond equipment, you know, good crews, you know, equipment, stuff like that, and food. It's just insane that, you know, this tank has this gun. It would be one thing if it was just the standard rounds on this, but the HE just sets it apart, giving it pretty much the perfect gun. Especially with the new reworked intuition, you're able to swap between rounds really fast. You don't have an autoloader holding you back, and you literally feel like you're chasing after tanks sometimes, just murdering them essentially, with how you can swap between rounds. So in any event, the standard round, 0.29 accuracy, these are just base values, non-existent aim time, almost 2900 DPM, which is crazy for a tier 8. These tanks here, so KPZ, Scorpion, Progetto, kind of close comparisons. The closest comparison is the KPZ, which is already a really good tier 8 medium tank. Well, guess what? Not anymore, because there's this that replaces it and gives you a better gun at, you know, basically a little bit of a hit point, a little bit of armor, and a little bit of V range you're sacrificing, but what does it matter when you can literally melt anything in front of you? Scorpion, because that's a really, you know, popular TD, you know, that's somewhat maneuverable. Alpha's a lot higher though, but what does it matter that you're playing a Scorpion when this thing can just load HE up and kill you? Let's see, hit points 1150, just like this. So this thing's gonna kill you in about 8.5 seconds shooting HE at you if you're in a Scorpion. So good luck doing anything to that, because you've reloaded in 12.2 seconds, you're gonna be gone and back in the freaking garage. Last but not least is the Progetto 46, which is another really popular tier 8 like maneuverable medium tank that this thing is most likely going to replace, because the gun's so much better than it. And why play a Progetto when you literally can play this thing and just murder everything regardless of what tier it's at? You kind of get the point I'm going at. It literally has one of the best tier 8 guns, The downsides of this tank, because we haven't even gotten out of the gun part yet. 6 degrees of gun depression, a little bit low, but let's be honest, you know, so if you're kind of at further ranges, which the low shell velocity is supposed to kind of counter, it's not going to do anything. The shell velocity is just barely under the Scorpion. A lot of people bring up how bad the shell velocity is on this. It's just a pinch under the Scorpion's AP round, which even though that is low, it's still workable. And also, you know, the gun depression doesn't let you fight on ridges, which, you know, great. You know, that's something to keep it in check too, but it doesn't matter when you're just mowing things down. As long as you're not driving out in front of enemies, knowing that you're going to get spotted, this thing, you know, that's really the barrier of entry of if you're going to do well on this or not, is really a little bit of map awareness, but also at the same time, it is a little map dependent. So it's not utterly broken in all senses like the Cody T56 sometimes, you know, just deleting tanks left and right and basically being better than the tier 9 tank in that branch. But this thing has one of the best guns at tier 8 and it's literally one of the best well-rounded guns in the game. Going down, you know, it's got your typical TD HP. Armor is just enough to protect you against, you know, HE rounds and barely protect you against its own HE round in some cases, although it can penetrate you if it gets a decent roll on it. Moving down to mobility though. So your mobility on this, and a lot of people are going to be using turbo because you can't put vents and you can't put a vertical stabilizer on this on like a medium tank. So, you know, mobility here, just your base value is pretty freaking fast, you know, like the other Czechoslovakian tanks, specifically the mediums. As you see, this thing with a broken turret above me in this video, literally with a broken turret, you're able to do circles around a mill and your turret still keeps up. It's a freaking medium tank, it's not a tank destroyer. This thing's pretty fast, really flexible. You know, the poor American turret at TDs that literally, you know, they move their gun over an inch and your freaking aiming circle blooms, you know, across the screen and you can't hit anything for like a square mile. This thing is not like that. You're really fast, traverse speed, turret speed, on the move accuracy is really good. Your concealment's not too bad. There is a field mod to give you better concealment after firing. Me personally, I'd rather have the extra V range. But overall, this tank, you know, to keep things short, you know, the last little bit I wanted to go over. I'm not going over every single thing in super depth and detail. So comparing the same tanks here is this. So on the move gun handling, these values here compared against a KPZ, a Scorpion, Progetto, it's literally better than the KPZ. It's better than the Progetto. A tank destroyer, this is the first TD that is kind of like this. Wargaming, obviously, if they bring like a Czechoslovakian TD line, this is going to be one of the attributes for this line is you have good on the move accuracy. You kind of play like a tank destroyer medium tank death machine between your standard rounds and your HE, but like the on the move accuracy is insane on this tank. Even putting a turbo and stuff on it, you know, you saw in that clip, if you were paying attention, with a broken turret, you know, you're still able to circle things. It's very, I feel like, broken when you put everything together. You know, really the only thing holding you back is your tank destroyer hit points, your somewhat low armor. You know, you're not able to get penned by HE easily, but everything else will pen you pretty easily. And a little bit of gun depression. You know, 6 degrees, it's workable. It's not great, but it's workable. Those are the only things against this tank. So otherwise, you're going to be, you know, laser shooting across, you know, freaking the mini-map. Or not mini-map, across the battlefield. And if people don't see you, like this thing, unlike, you know, like the pre-nerf T67 and stuff like that, like this thing is just, you're just laser beaming people, essentially. And then on the move, terrain resistance values here, bleh. I just ended a stream, so marble mouth here, are are actually really good for a tank destroyer. You know, it's better than the Scorpion, but these values don't really impact you much. And as you see here on soft terrain, going through like mud, you know, soft ground and stuff, is actually better in some cases than say the KPZ-7 here. It's not as good as the Hover Progetto 46 that has basically no terrain resistance penalties at all, but these values are really good. So like complete package of this thing is just, you know, it's literally borderline, I feel like, broken. Like I don't want to call it overpowered, um, because it does have some barrier of entry, because it's not as easy as say a Skoda T56 that has a little bit of HP and armor going for an alpha. But this thing is, I feel like, you know, 2022's Skoda T56 Bat Chapter-esque, the where it's basically the best, you know, gun that we're well-rounded gun in this, you know, basically setting where it's not high alpha, but it checks every other box. Plus you have that HE option that other tanks of this caliber don't have. And you think about trying to fight this thing in a tier 6, it's like literally you just go and you're vaporized, you know, because a lot of tier 6s, this thing can just pen you with HE. And if it doesn't, then, well, good luck. Like, the thing's just going to kill you with standard rounds just as fast, you know, or almost as fast, you know. But my personal opinion is, you know, this tank, while it's fun to play, it's another, I guess, bad, introduction that Wargaming's doing, because they could have very easily released this tank and given it like 380 alpha on the HE round. It would still be very good. People would still use it. And this thing, I'd consider it not, you know, broken, but in its current, you know, basically setup in recent memory, like Wargaming's very unlikely to nerf this at this point. This tank literally has everything going for it except for, you know, you have to nitpick. You see a lot of other people nitpicking, like a little bit of gun depression, a little bit of armor. Oh, you know, well, the premium round costs a little bit of money to shoot. It's like you have to make up, you know, basically nitpicks for this tank. And it's just another case of this tank is just flat out, you know, borderline like pay to win. And you're essentially pushing like a tier 9 tank almost into tier 8. And there's not enough downsides of this tank outside of user error, or you get thrown on a very poor map for a tank like this, but you still literally have such an insane gun that you're going to be able to pull off and hold your own essentially. But in any event, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and good luck fighting these things, because there's not too much you can do against it, because it's going to be literally damaging you left and right with its gun. So you're going to have to hope that you have like some really, really good armor, or like high alpha, or help. But, you know, I hope I'm wrong. However, you know, I definitely see this as being one of the best tier 8 tanks basically in the game. And, you know, this year's essentially best tier 8 premium. Hopefully we don't see other ones like this, because that will definitely be a little scary. Thanks again for watching. Have a good one. See you around.